this really deep voice that just says, it's done. And in that moment, I knew I was healed. I know, it sounds so strange, but it happened. I really couldn't believe it. So let's back up for a second. I attended Joe Dispenza's week-long advanced retreat in Cancun this year, and to say it changed my life is a complete understatement. Seriously. As a former engineer who used to only believe in data and not in tangible things, the Joe Dispenza retreat was just beyond mind-blowing. And so if you've been thinking about attending one of his retreats in order to get healed or to like reach the next level in your life or just to be connected more to source or manifest your dream life, then this video is for you. So what I will do today is I will talk a little bit about some of the structure of the retreat, my own personal stories, which are really crazy, and most importantly, who Dispenza's retreats are really for and who they're not for, because they're not for everyone. And you might be thinking, Fabi, you usually talk about side hustles on this channel. Why do you talk about Joe Dispenza? But here's the thing, when it comes to becoming an entrepreneur, you gotta do the inner work. There's no way around it. And going to a Joe Dispenza retreat, that is doing the inner work. Especially if you're a high performer like me, I learned this amazing trick at Joe Dispenza that actually made me work less hours and achieve more results. And I know that might be controversial, but you really don't want to miss that tip. So why did I even decide to go to Joe Dispenza? I invested in a Prenuvo MRI scan last year and I found something in my stomach. And so I was like, okay, what's going on there? Let's check it out. And so I got an endoscopy done and literally they found a pre-stage of stomach cancer. So my grandpa had stomach cancer, so they removed part of his stomach. And I just wanted to make sure that, I really don't have this condition. So and cancer really runs in my family, and so I really want to make sure to be very proactive about this. And one of the things that was really interesting is I was talking to a friend of mine, Mary, and she was like, Fabi, maybe there's some unresolved stuff in your body and that's why you developed the cancer. And so I got really curious and she really encouraged me to do more energy work and see where it's going and if there's something that is unresolved. Boy, did I have no idea that that was the case. So this is why I signed up for Joe Dispenza. I wanted to get healed, right? That was my main objective, and also to just open my mindset and see what else is out there. And the thing is, I heard so many crazy stories about Joe Dispenza's retreat that I was like really intrigued. And I was like, what do I have to lose, right? So I signed up for it, and boy, it changed everything for me. And this is coming from someone who's invested the amount of like a really nice new electric vehicle in the past 3 years on personal development. This was the game changer. I've done a lot of like different trainings where it was like how I can improve my business or the relationships in my life, but this was the relationship with me and something bigger, like the universe. And I want to let you know, I'm not getting paid to create this video. It's just my own opinion. And as you know, I don't sugarcoat anything. So let's talk about Joe Dispenza. He's been around for decades. Yes, but I feel like he got really popular in the past few years, and I came across his work in Lewis Howes' School of Greatness podcast. So I listened to a lot of episodes, and what he said made a lot of sense. And it's what I really love about Joe Dispenza's work. It has a lot to do with quantum physics, and it's because I'm originally from Germany and an engineer. I want to know the facts. So the big piece is I wanted to check out his work, but I knew that it's really hard to get into his retreats. So if you're planning on going to one of his retreats, like they sell it like this. I put a reminder in my calendar to like really get on it as soon as it opened. And just so you know, so the event started for me on Monday in Cancun, Monday evening. And I think it was like around 4 p.m. And then it wrapped up on Sunday around 3 or 4 p.m. So the retreat I went to was the one in Cancun. It's amazing because we had 4 beach meditations, which were so cool. And like, especially when you're on the beach, oh, so good to have meditations there. We also had 3 coherence healings. And these are meditations where you're just helping others to really heal. And then we had a bunch of guided meditations that were just insane. And surprisingly enough, there was a ton of focus on signs. I'm not going to steal Joe Dispenza's thunder here, but it was mind-blowing. Like, it was mind-blowing to see what's possible when you really get into that state of meditation. The good news too is you can really see that he invests a lot of money into research to really make sure that people get healed. So if you've been skeptical about this, attend one of his retreats and you will see so much research. It is insane. Like, even in Cancun, we had like 2,000 people, and then they grab like a portion of them, randomized study, and then, you know, look at the vitals and how their condition changes. So really crazy. But let's talk about the crazy stories in my meditation, because they were definitely worth the video. And just also to manage expectations, I meditated like maybe 5 to 20 minutes like years ago. So I was kind of a newbie when it comes to meditation. If you ever listen to Joe Dispenza's work, like, you will hear the same word over again, like nothing, and the space, that's energy. So there's a reason for it. All of his meditations, really, the idea is to get into that space where you're like fully conscious, but you're really starting to access your unconsciousness. And I've never really done it before, but it's insane. So sometimes you close your eyes, you do it in the chair, you also have some lying meditation, you have some walking meditations, as I mentioned, and you go into this like deep meditative state. And when you go into that, what Joe Dispenza calls the space, it's the unknown space. And what's really funny is, like, your body starts to crave the known and not the unknown, because your body is made for survival and not made for success, as I like to say. And so it's really, when I started the first meditation, it was such a struggle. I remember sitting there and it was literally like, I really need to go pee. Or it's like, oh, it's really freaking cold in here. Or, oh my goodness, there's so many people. Like, I will never get into that space. So it's funny how your body is just trying to hijack you from getting into that unknown space. So if that happens to you, fear not, because your meditations over the week will just get better and better. So good. Okay, so let me talk to you about the 5 biggest insights, like / experiences I witnessed when I was going to Joe Dispenza. So the first big insight was, energy will heal you even if you're not selected to be healed. So let's say you're struggling with some health condition and you might not be selected for coherence healing. You can still heal. And this is really, really key. And again, I'm a novice meditator, so let me tell you what happened. So on Tuesday, which was the second day, we started doing meditations, and you usually do like around 3 meditations a day. And I think it was like the second or third meditation. And I put my hand on my stomach and I see a picture of my dad. And I was like, interesting. But I was like, I don't want to go there, because if you're new to my channel, you might not know this, but I have some childhood drama that I've been working through, and my dad basically kicked my mom, my brother, and me out of the house when I was 4 years old, and I've never seen him ever since. So there's a lot of resentment issues that I've been working through, but what was so crazy was that my dad kept appearing every time I touched my stomach, which is, I think, the 3rd energy center. My friend who came with me, Emma, she was like, why don't you explore? Why are you not curious to just see where it takes you? So I was like, okay, but there might be something. Then we're in this meditation, we're lying down on the floor, and I feel how like my hands just move over to my stomach very naturally, as if they were like guided. And then my hands started to like move up my stomach, and so it felt like there was like an energetic feel. It felt really weird. It was like I could just feel like there was like energy, and then my hands moved up and up and up and up, and I could feel like as if something's like starting to pull out. And while that is all happening, I see my dad over and over again. It's so weird. Oh, and then I see the name tag that we had at Joe Dispenza with the name Shimala on it. And so Shimala is the last name of my dad. Oh, let me actually see if I have this. Okay, I just got it. Here it is. So this was the name tag. And I kept seeing the name tag with the name Shimala on it, which again is the last name of my dad. I kept seeing it, and my hands are just, kind of starting to vibrate. It was so wild. And so then in my meditation, I went to the volunteer and I was like, I'm curious, is there anyone named Shimala here? And then they're like, yeah, there is, but we can't tell you because of protection rights. And I was like, woof. And I could feel like the nervous energy in me. I was like, oh my goodness, what if I saw my dad after all these years? And so then in my meditation, Joe Dispenza called me on stage and literally was like, Fabi, I think your dad is here. Do you want to tell us he said like, do you want to tell us a little bit about the story of your dad? And so I literally told the story of how I haven't seen my dad since I was 4 years old. And then, oh my goodness, I'm just getting goosebumps just rethinking of that meditation and putting myself in this. I see far in the back a wheelchair, and like my dad is in a wheelchair rolling down the aisle. And so then they bring him up to stage and we just like hug each other, and I just like start crying, and it was just insane, so insane. I just felt like how this energy just started like getting out of my stomach, and then I hear this weird, deep voice just saying, it's done. And in that moment, it sounds so strange. I would have never thought I would say that, but I felt healed. Like I knew that something just left my body. And coming back to my friend Mary, like she mentioned that, you know, unsolved energy, like it can store in your body. And I was like, that was it. So, but here's the thing, and this gets even crazier. So crazy. So then after the meditation, I told everything to my friend Emma. And so she's like, we gotta go to a volunteer. Maybe your dad is here. So we go to a volunteer. The volunteer came back and he's like, no, there's no one named Shamala here. But have you ever thought that you are Shamala? And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, isn't your dad part of your identity? And then I was like, oh my God, she's so right. Like, I never accepted that part of my identity because my dad was absent. But, you know, 50% of my genes are from him. So it was insane. And so, wow, get this. Where I've been mentioning this. So think about the name tag and the name Shamala, right? So I am Shamala. So that came up. But here is where it became really interesting. And this is how we're all so connected. What happened is my friend Emma, she's been trying to have a baby, and she literally saw her baby in her meditation while all of this stuff with me was happening. And she was like, Fabi, first of all, I'm so grateful you brought me here. Like, I think you're the reason why I will finally like receive my kid. And it was like so beautiful. But get this. She was like, and I know the name of it. And I was like, what's the name of your kid? And she said, Ayla. And I was like, wait, Ayla? Like, how did you come across that name? And she was like, I don't know, it just came to me. And so I was really curious. I was like, is there maybe a meaning to it? So get this. We looked it up on Google, and the name literally means like halo. My meditation got influenced by her meditation, and it was just so beautiful. Like, I mean, what are the odds? What are the odds in this world? Isn't that insane? Like, I saw this kept coming up and up and up, and I was like, now I really accepted that part of my identity. I really had closure with my dad, and I literally changed the energy in my body. And while this happening, my friend like literally saw her baby for the first time in her meditation, and the name of it was like literally Halo. I mean, you can't make that up. You can't make that up. Can you? No. I tell you, this was like the wildest meditation. This meditation alone was worth the whole trip. Okay, let's talk about my second biggest insight while attending the Joe Dispenza retreat. Changing matter with matter takes the longest. And wow, this was mind-blowing. So the way Joe Dispenza describes it, especially when it comes to quantum physics, is that matter has the longest wavelength. And the shorter the wavelength is, basically the higher frequency you are, right? And so when you're at a high frequency and you create things in the field, right? Like think about like thoughts that you put when you're in the field. It's like a lake. That's how I think of it. And then you throw in different thoughts, and based on the frequency, they become true. And so that's why it's so key to really watch your thoughts. If you're analytical minded, like I am, you always think of like, okay, I want, for instance, this house, or I want my business to be that successful. And so you're thinking in your mind, okay, I need to make this much money in this year and this much money in the next year. But what basically Joe Dispenza teaches you is once you create from the field, from the higher frequency, the law of physics is that ultimately it will trickle down into matter, into physical circumstances. So I don't know if you ever had this where you were like thinking of something and you really felt it in your heart, like as if it was already happening, and then literally stuff happened. It happened to me so many times. And so it just means that all of the different possibilities that are out there, you're so connected to it and you can make it happen. But it's not like, you know, you meditate for one day and you're like, I want to be rich, and then like it's gonna come to you. That's not how it works, right? You still gotta put in some work. But I used to be a workaholic and just do. But the most important thing that I learned is I was trying to move matter with matter, which takes the longest. So now you might be thinking, Fabi, what are you talking about? So here's what happened, right? Because you want to see results. So I really visualized myself like seeing my YouTube channel just taking off like crazy and getting all the different awards, like the YouTube like play buttons. And I got back from the Joe Dispenza retreat and I like felt it in my body. Like tears were running over my face and I was just like so excited about it. And it really felt as if it already happened. And when I got home, the craziest stuff happened. I literally had multiple brand deals lined up in my inbox, and then one came over another every single day, and I was just like, where is this coming from? And then also an agency reached out to me, which has been working to really help influencers grow, and I was just blown away. Like, how in this world is this happening? I didn't even work more and it just came to me. And maybe you've experienced something similar to this, even with like stuff that you actually don't want to happen. Like if you're super afraid something's gonna happen and then you just attract it in your life, it's because there was an emotion attached to it. So the stronger the emotion is for a thought over the reality, the faster you're going to attract it. And I mean, for me, as an immigrant, my grandpa would always be like, work harder and harder and harder to achieve your dreams. But you know, the side effect is usually burnout. And so it's not about doing more, it's really about attracting more in the field. Because in the field is where like infinite like possibility exists. I mean, think about it. You can have any thought in the world. You can live any reality in your head, right? And once you attach that emotion to it, that's when it ultimately will appear in your life. So the stronger the emotion that you connect to that vision in your life, the faster you get it. You just don't know how you're gonna get it, and you don't know when you're gonna get it. So you're kind of hiring the universe to do the work for you. And I knew about manifestation, but I really went about it the wrong way. I just never got into this space, and I wouldn't feel like a magnet. And when I realized that I am in the space, like I really attracted magic into my life. So also I pictured myself at Times Square and saw my book there as a New York Times bestseller. It made me so like grateful, and I was like really crying. And then literally a week later, someone reached out to me and asked if I've been thinking about writing a book. You can't make this up. Like, what in this world? So make sure to create from the field and not from the matter. And this is really key because with quantum physics, there are just like different parallel universes that exist. And then at some point, the past, present, and future, they're all happening at the same time. I know, it sounds so weird. You gotta go to Joe Dispenza to really fully understand it. It is wild. And if you think about this too, it's like, you know, there was a big bang. There was like nothing at some point. And then there was like high frequency energy. And now we live on a planet with like billions of people. So something to be said about the field. Okay, now my third biggest insight, and this is for you if you're on the fence. It's really key that you're open to receiving and believing in magic. Because if you're not, it's not gonna work for you. You don't even have to go to Joe Dispenza. If you don't believe in it, don't go. Because, I mean, here's the thing. I saw literally people stepping out of a wheelchair, walking. And I know that he's been in a wheelchair and like he was literally walking. So something is working, whatever it is. And what was really key too, what was so interesting to learn is that your magnetic field, like you can tell basically that there is something off in your magnetic field that then basically manifests then down into your body. So with the coherence healings, you're literally trying to heal other people. The idea is that you have literally I think it's like 6 people sitting around one person. Like by changing your energetic field, you're changing their energetic field. And I remember like I literally one coherence healing, like I released so much energy and like I could feel it in my thumbs. It was like crazy, like they were on fire. And a person was going around with like some kind of instrument to measure magnetic energy. And literally, I remember they were coming to me and it was just like, it was crazy. So let me answer the question. Who is this Joe Dispenza retreat for and who is it not for? I would say if you're on the fence right now, there are only really 2 things that you need. You gotta believe in it and you gotta commit to really doing the exercises as Joe Dispenza tells you to do. You really gotta believe in it, because if you're not open, you won't have a magical experience. And here's the thing, I've never really been very spiritual, but after this experience, I just feel connected. And I really believe there's something bigger than we are. And yeah, I can't describe it. When you're really coming back from the event, you like feel like really high on life. And then once you come back, like life catches up with you. And that's actually when the hard part starts. And this is why I would say like commitment is really key, because just going to a retreat is not going to solve it long term. Like you gotta really put in the work. I would say if you go to Joe Dispenza and you're committed and you believe in it, make sure to do it, and also make sure that you create an accountability group afterwards. Okay, another big insight was that I've been really addicted to negative emotions. So I used to have days where I literally wake up and I'm just going down a spiral where I just think about certain people that then cause like stress in me and in my body. And I have my Aura ring, and I used to wear it just at night, and now I wear it all day long. And I really noticed that my stress levels were just like so elevated. And what I really loved is like really becoming conscious of the unconscious mind. So after Joe Dispenza, I really caught myself more of like, ooh, what are like the scripts that are going on in my head that I wasn't really conscious about, right? And so what I noticed is that my brain was just like constantly running on autopilot. So, and this is really key, because you meditate to change that energy. And when you change your energy, that's when you really start changing your life. Speaking of, and this is an insight, so good. Your energy matters. One of the biggest pieces for me was like seeing how I operated when I have a lack of energy versus being in an energy overflow, right? Which is like wanting something and feeling like there's a lack, versus you already see it in the field and then you don't really want to pursue it anymore because you already have it all. You have it all in your head and in your heart. The funniest thing is that once that you get to that state, you actually don't want the thing anymore. It sounds really weird, but that way you just have different energy, and you also attract different people in your life. So overall, going to Joe Dispenza really opened my eyes. I mean, I have so many other crazy stories, but I want to keep this short. So if you want to go to a retreat, there are 2 things you got to be aware of. Number 1, registration like literally opens I think 3 months before, but the retreats sell out like in minutes. So you gotta register like super quickly. What I would recommend is just sign up to Joe Dispenza's email newsletter. They usually announce when the next retreat opens. And then like literally put in a calendar reminder and get on there a minute before it opens, because his retreats like sell out in minutes. And then number 2, do not expect to have any free time while you're there. Like we were at this really beautiful hotel in Cancun, and I mean, there's not much time to like see anything. So if that's the case, make sure you either come earlier or leave later, because otherwise you're just not gonna have time to explore anything and make use of the hotel's amenities. And if I'm thinking about this, I would probably just do some more extra time at the end of the retreat, just to like slowly prepare to go back to normal life. Okay, I know I usually talk about side hustles because I'm all about creating freedom, personal financial freedom, but you know, this was a little bit of a different video. So let me know what you think of this. I just wanted to try out a new format. So many of you reach out to me when I send out my manifestation email, and so I was thinking, I'm just gonna create this video. So let me know what you think about it in the comments below. And also let me know, are you curious to going to Joe Dispenza, or are you more like, nah, maybe not?